I was making Campbell's chicken soup last Tuesday when it hit me. My grandmother never complained about her knees the way I do. She lived to 96 and walked to the mailbox every single day. What did she know that we've forgotten? You know that morning stiffness that greets you like an unwelcome visitor? The way your knees protest when you stand up from your favorite chair, or how your fingers feel like they belong to someone else when you try to open a jar. I used to think this was just part of getting older. But then I discovered something remarkable during my daughter's wedding trip to Japan 3 years ago. The older folks there moved differently. They didn't shuffle or wince when they walked. At 85, my husband's new mother-in-law climbed temple steps that left me breathless. Her secret wasn't some expensive supplement from a fancy bottle. It was sitting right there on her dinner table every single night. The Japanese have been eating anti-inflammatory foods for centuries without even calling them that. They just called it dinner, and their joints have been thanking them for generations. Let me share what I learned about the first food that changed everything for me. It's something you've probably seen in the grocery store, but walked right past. Miso soup. Not the instant packets, but real miso made from fermented soybeans. I remember thinking it looked like muddy water the first time I tried it. But within weeks of having a small cup each morning, something shifted. That grinding sensation in my hips when I got out of bed started to fade. My hands didn't feel as stiff when I reached for my coffee mug. The second food might surprise you because we've been told it's bad for us for so long. Fish. But not just any fish. The fatty kinds our mothers used to serve on Fridays. Salmon, mackerel, sardines. The Japanese eat these like we eat hamburgers. Here's what most people don't understand about inflammation and joint pain. Your body's like a house with a fire alarm that won't stop ringing. Inflammation is supposed to be temporary, like when you cut your finger. It comes, it heals, it goes away. But when we eat the same foods day after day, the processed stuff, the sugary treats, the fried everything, that alarm keeps blaring. Our joints become the innocent victims of a fire that never gets put out. Japanese seniors eat foods that act like a gentle hand reaching over to turn off that alarm. Not by masking the pain, but by removing what's causing the inflammation in the first place. The third food is something I never would have considered before my trip. Seaweed. I know. It sounds about as appetizing as eating the stuff that washes up on the beach during your vacation. But dried seaweed, the kind they sprinkle on rice or add to soups, is like nature's anti-inflammatory medicine cabinet. It's packed with compounds that calm down angry joints better than anything I tried from the pharmacy. I started adding little strips of it to my homemade vegetable soup. You can barely taste it, but your joints will definitely feel it. My neighbor asked me what I was doing differently because I was moving around my garden like I was 20 years younger. The fourth food brought back memories of my childhood that I'd completely forgotten. Green tea, but not the kind we steep for 30 seconds and gulp down. The Japanese way of making tea is like meditation for your joints. They take time with it. They let it steep properly. They drink it slowly multiple times throughout the day. I realized I'd been treating tea like fuel when it was supposed to be medicine. When I started drinking proper green tea 3 times a day, the constant ache in my lower back began to quiet down. Not overnight, mind you. This isn't some miracle cure. But gradually, like watching flowers bloom, I noticed I was sleeping better because I wasn't tossing and turning to find a comfortable position. The fifth food is probably hiding in your pantry right now, but you're not using it the way the Japanese do. Ginger. Fresh ginger root, not the powdered stuff from a spice jar that's been sitting there since the Clinton administration. I learned to slice thin pieces and add them to everything. My morning tea, my afternoon soup, even grated into my salad dressing. The warmth you feel when you eat fresh ginger isn't just flavor, it's inflammation leaving your body. But here's where the story gets really interesting. It's not just about individual foods. The Japanese have a way of combining these anti-inflammatory ingredients that creates something powerful, something that can transform how your joints feel every single day. And the most surprising part, the one ingredient that ties it all together is probably something you threw away yesterday without thinking twice about it. That mystery ingredient I mentioned, it's shiitake mushroom stems. The woody parts we always cut off and toss in the garbage without a second thought. My Japanese daughter-in-law looked horrified when she saw me throwing them away. Those are the most powerful part, she said, fishing them out of my trash can like I'd thrown away gold coins. She taught me to simmer those tough stems in water for 20 minutes to make what she called joint broth. The liquid that results looks like weak tea, but it's loaded with compounds that calm inflammation better than anything I'd ever tried. I started adding this mushroom stem broth to everything. My morning miso soup, my afternoon rice, even as the base for cooking vegetables. Within a month, I realized I hadn't reached for my heating pad once. That constant low-level ache in my shoulders had simply melted away. But here's what really opened my eyes about Japanese anti-inflammatory eating. It's not just about individual foods. It's about how they eat them together every single day, like a symphony for your joints. Think about a typical American dinner. We might have a piece of chicken, some mashed potatoes, maybe green beans if we're being good. Each food sitting separately on the plate, not really talking to each other. Japanese meals are different. Everything works together. The miso soup with seaweed starts the meal preparing your digestive system. The ginger in the salad dressing wakes up your circulation. The green tea at the end helps your body absorb all the good stuff you just ate. I remember watching my husband's Japanese relatives during that wedding trip. 3 generations sitting around one table, from the grandmother in her 90s to the great-grandchildren. Nobody was complaining about their joints. Nobody was getting up slowly or wincing when they moved. It wasn't genetics, though I spent months convincing myself it was. It was the way they'd been eating their entire lives. Small amounts of anti-inflammatory foods every single day, working together like a well-rehearsed choir. So I decided to try their approach for 6 months. Not a dramatic overhaul. I wasn't about to give up my Sunday pot roast or my daughter's chocolate chip cookies. But I started weaving these Japanese anti-inflammatory foods into my regular routine. Morning miso soup instead of my second cup of coffee. A small piece of salmon twice a week instead of always choosing chicken. Green tea in the afternoon when I used to reach for a soda. Tiny changes that didn't feel like punishment. The transformation wasn't instant. This isn't some miracle cure you see on late-night TV. But gradually, like watching your garden bloom in spring, I noticed changes that surprised me. First, I stopped dreading getting out of bed in the morning. You know that feeling when your body feels like it's made of rusty hinges? That started happening less and less. Then I realized I was sleeping through the night instead of waking up to adjust my position because something ached. My hands stopped feeling stiff when I tried to open jars or write thank you notes. But the moment I knew something real had changed was during my grandson's birthday party 6 months later. I was down on the floor playing with the kids, getting up and down without thinking about it. My daughter looked at me with amazement and said, "Mom, when did you start moving like that again?" That's when it hit me. I hadn't just reduced inflammation. I'd gotten part of myself back. The part that didn't hesitate before bending down to pick up a dropped spoon or reaching up to dust a high shelf. You know what surprised me most? These Japanese anti-inflammatory foods didn't just help my joints. My skin looked clearer. My energy was more steady throughout the day, and I stopped getting those afternoon brain fog moments where I'd walk into a room and forget why I came there. After all these years, I finally understood what my Japanese daughter in Mayasayi meant when she said, food is medicine, medicine is food. We've separated these two ideas in America, but they're really the same thing. Your joints are talking to you every day. The question is whether you're feeding them foods that say, calm down and heal, or foods that say, stay angry and inflamed. I'm not saying you have to eat like you live in Tokyo, but what if you try just one of these anti-inflammatory foods this week? Maybe start with green tea in the afternoon or add some ginger to your next stir fry. See how your body responds. Your joints have been with you for decades, carrying you through everything life has thrown your way. Don't you think they deserve the kindness that comes from food that heals instead of hurts? The beautiful thing about Japanese anti-inflammatory eating is that it's not about restriction. It's about addition. You're not taking away foods you love. You're adding foods that love you back. Those temple steps I mentioned at the beginning. Last year when we visited Japan again, I climbed them too. Not as gracefully as my 85-year-old mother-in-law, but I climbed them. And my knees thanked me for every anti-inflammatory meal I'd shared with them along the way. What joint has been bothering you the most lately? I'd love to hear which of these Japanese anti-inflammatory foods you're most curious to try in the comments below. If this gave you hope that your joints can feel better, share it with someone who needs to know that stiffness and pain don't have to be their daily companions. After all, we're never too old to learn a new way to be kind to ourselves. Until we chat again, remember, every meal is a chance to choose healing. Your joints are listening,